adjourned. I thought it was a great time to adjourn, but then I heard that there were people who I cut off at the knees and didn't allow them to speak, and I'm sorry. If you know, I didn't know that people were waiting to speak. It seemed to me that it was a good time to break. But tonight we're going to finish the hearing, and so with that said, Ms. McKettrick.
Good evening. I'm Mary McKettrick. I'm the attorney for the Pt3 LLC, and we're back here before you tonight to provide some additional information which we have sent to the board. At the last meeting, there was a request that we submit our traffic generation statistics, which we had engaged Howard Stein Hudson to produce back in November in order to understand the traffic that would be generated by this use. We submitted that report to the planning board, and you should all have it. And we also asked for an opinion from Howard Stein Hudson about how those traffic generation statistics integrated with the study that had been done of traffic and parking in East Milton Square. In other words, you know, did that traffic study take into account additional uses that might generate additional traffic, and would the impact of this use be significantly different from what was anticipated by that study? And they just wrote a one-page letter, but the letter states that they had prepared a technical memorandum studying the restaurant use that indicated that the restaurant could generate 540 trips on an average weekday, 566 on an average Saturday. During the peak hours, project would generate approximately 54 vehicle trips during the weekday evening peak and 66 during the Saturday peak. And the project traffic, according to this letter, and this would be my understanding too, would be dispersed throughout the roadways surrounding the restaurant, so it's not all coming in on one road. The number of, when the traffic is dispersed throughout East Milton Square, the number of project-related vehicle trips expected to impact specific intersections is going to be less than that total trip generation that I just read. And this sort of increase was considered in the East Milton Square Improvement Project. The study considered potential traffic growth from redevelopment projects, and this proposed restaurant use is accounted for as part of the general background growth that was used for that study in that project. I did go back and read the traffic study again, and I sent a letter to the board about a couple of other possible uses, but I also mentioned in that letter that in the East Milton Square parking and traffic study, they recommended restaurant use as one of the better uses for this area for new growth. And I think, as we've already mentioned to you, the planning document the town has just produced also talks about restaurant use as a favored use for East Milton Square. We do have not our regular traffic engineer, but our regular engineer. We do have our engineer here tonight, and I actually had intended to have him talk about traffic, but that's the main reason we're back here, and I wanted to give you the summary. If you'd like, I can ask him to address the board.
I think that would be excellent.
Okay.
All right, thank you. My name for the record is Jeff Haston. I'm a civil engineer with Morse Engineering. At the previous hearing, Gregory Morse from my firm presented a portion of the project. I will try not to reiterate too much of what Marion McKettrick just gave you the information on. But since the last hearing, it's my understanding that the project was continued in order to provide additional information on trip generation and exactly how many trips are expected to be generated from this property and what impact that would have on the surrounding neighborhoods. That is exactly what we did. Howard Stein Hudson Associates was retained. In my opinion, they're the perfect firm to do this analysis because they are so familiar with this neighborhood. They've done a very significant amount of studies as they're working for the town of Milton and with the Mass DOT to come up with a master improvements plan for this area. As was mentioned before, they do one of their recommendations was that this property would be developed as a restaurant, and in their calculations, they have a base flow model, and they anticipated the development of this property. So that is part of the reason why that's part of their reasoning why this has already been factored in. It's into previous studies. In an email, 2 letters have been submitted. One was prepared back in November 11th of 2014. That had not been put on the records. November 17th, I'm sorry. It is on the record now. It's been submitted. And a follow-up letter on February 11th. And I also have correspondence between Kerry Pike, who is a PE with Howard Stein Hudson Associates, and the town planner, William Clark. And in this email, she states, "I believe you are correct that the effects are de minimis as to traffic and parking. They are providing parking, and the trip numbers are small and would have been accounted for in the East Milton Square analysis and design through the background growth rate." So they are stating that they've done their study, and this increase in flow is going to be de minimis. I would go on to say that their calculations are aggressive. The number of trips that they're predicting are higher than I would expect. They're kind of a worst case. They performed their report in compliance with the ITA trip generation manual, which is a standard. They call the restaurant a code 931, which is a quality restaurant, which I would agree with. And their numbers I would agree with the exception that they don't account for pedestrian traffic, traffic that's going to arrive by public transportation. There is a bus stop right in front of the property. And pass-by traffic. One of the notes, this is a page from the ITA manual, ITE, which I'll pass around, and it states that all land uses in the 800 and 900 series are entitled to a pass-by trip reduction of 60% if less than 50,000 square feet, which this is. So I guess in my conclusion, I would agree that the effect will be de minimis.
Can I ask a question on that point? So that answers a question I had, which is, I think, so these numbers you're showing us, the 540 weekday daily trips and the 566 Saturday daily trips, these are new trips.
Yeah, and it includes both in and out.
Understood. I understand that piece of it. But so that would be trips, cars that are not already on the road. These are new cars coming for this purpose only that would not have been there otherwise?
That's correct.
Okay.
In the Howard Stein Hudson report, they do address walking, bicycling, and transit. They say the ITE provides an estimated total for basically urban settings well served by transit. So they did just that.
I was under the impression the numbers were the overall. I'd have to read back.
The ITE gives you, 6,000 square foot restaurant, they give you trips per square feet. But then apparently they've commented that as well within that manual, they provide for urban settings and adjusting for public transportation and walking.
I don't doubt you on that. I'd have to take a
sure,
second
yeah.
look at it. They certainly do not take into account the possible 60% reduction. So I still think they, even with that information, I would still agree.
Where are you, what are you referring to, Mike? Why don't you bring it to his attention?
It's the Howard Stein Hudson Technical Memorandum of November 17th, bottom paragraph, the first page. ITE provides data to estimate the total number of unadjusted vehicle trips associated with the project. In an urban setting well served by transit, adjustments are necessary to account for other travel modes such as walking, bicycling, and transit.
But I don't see that they make those
She's
adjustments.
saying they are necessary.
They're necessary, but they haven't actually made them, because when you go over to the next page, they're doing the ITE vehicular rates.
Well, I don't know that the Institute of Traffic Engineers doesn't address it, urban setting well served by transit.
No, they don't. That's the point. They don't address it, because that's what they're
But
saying.
if they don't address it,
But
the
because-
traffic would be greater.
No, what they're saying is that IT is giving this data to do the number of unadjusted vehicular trips in an urban setting. Adjustments are necessary to the ITE numbers. Yeah.
But without the adjustments, I mean,
Without
they're
the-
using
well,
higher
They are,
traffic.
exactly. That's
Numbers would be
exactly
lower
it.
with the adjustments.
If they made the adjustments, the numbers would be lower, which is consistent with what he's saying.
There are no,
Okay, I'm glad.
there are no F intersections, is what you're saying.
Reports
Yeah.
are very difficult to read.
Well, it's pretty
Yeah.
clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Does the Church Street intersection have a letter next to it with Adam Street?
Does it have a letter? I don't know.
Like you get
Level of
A, B,
service.
C, D, F?
The level of service.
The
now.
level.
I believe they submitted that.
They call Adam Street a principal arterial road, and they call Church Street a secondary. I don't know if it's an A, or B, or C.
Was there a level of service on it? No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered.
There was some information that was that had the A, B, C grading on
Yeah,
it.
it just
The
wasn't
level
on
of
the- it
service
wasn't
was
on the
done
street.
at Granite and Adams,
What are the levels there?
Adams and
What-
Bryant.
So it wasn't done at that church?
It wasn't done just at that one. It was done on Adams Street in different places.
But it
Granite,
wasn't done at that light there?
correct.
And of course, one of our problems is that we don't, with the Adam Street thing, is we have the information that there is going to be a new traffic light system that is
Right.
going to make it 50% better than it currently is.
What he told us is it doesn't talk to the rest of the system, it's on its own.
But it will talk to the
But
rest
it
of the
will,
system,
but it
yes.
will.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, we have the promise that Adam Street is going to have an increased capacity.
I said it's going to be better. I never said it was going to be 50% better. I did say it would be better.
Okay, now, any other questions?
Yep.
Do we have questions
Check the time.
in the audience for the traffic engineer?
Jeff,
You have a
go-
question, come up, sir, and ask the question.
Tony McDonald, 4 Mechanic Street. I have a question. When that study was done, what was the date on that?
Bill?
What year?
2014.
Thank you.
2014.
Last November.
And the updated memo was
February 11th.
February 11th, yeah.
So it's pretty current. All right, thank you.
All right, Marion, do you have anything further?
I didn't have, I have one additional point. It's not really new, but I wrote a letter to the board for this last hearing, just summarizing a little bit more information about possible alternative uses. One of them I selected was the theater use, because this used to be a 600-seat theater. This building had a theater in it. That theater used to have 2 showings a night, and it used to occasionally have matinees. Most of the work, the business at the theater would be in the evening at approximately the same time that a restaurant like this would be busy. So I did some estimates just based on the town's parking requirements of what parking would be required for a theater like that. Of course, it turns out it's a discretionary decision by the Board of Appeals. It's a determination just like the restaurant determination. The Board of Appeals would have had to decide what parking was necessary for that use. Using the ratio of 2.5 to 1, I had 200-plus parking spaces that would have been required for the theater use off-street, because it's been discontinued for a number of years. It would be like a new use. I also looked at retail use. This is a 2-story building. It could be converted to a 2-story retail use. I estimated it's a 6,000 square foot footprint. Conservatively, I talked to the Falcones about it, that possibly you could have 8,000 square feet of retail use, and that the number of parking spaces that would be required for such a use would be approximately 32. It's all speculative. We don't really know how much internal retail space you could create. The significant fact about retail use is that it would involve a lot more in and out car trips. It would be all day, it would be into the evening. I speculate that it would be busier than the restaurant use, and it would be more continuous. We didn't ask for trip generation statistics for those uses because we're not proposing them, but I thought it would be worthwhile to at least give you those estimates of what parking would be required, because it does give you some idea of traffic impact. And I think when you think about this use and the fact that it's in a commercial district, that you have to consider that there will be a commercial use at this site, and that these are probably two of the more, these are two possible uses, only in that there was a theater there before. The retail use is the other use that you see in the square, other than restaurants. And so there is going to be, whatever the use is, there's going to be an issue of parking and traffic. And so I just reiterate what I've said in the hearings previously, which is this restaurant is a high-quality restaurant. People will stay for a considerable period of time when they come here for dinner. There will be good management of the parking. There will be, if permitted, there will be the use of valet parking, which will help to control and place clients' cars or patrons' cars in the proper off-street parking. The restaurant management intends to make use of signs and website directions, and they will require that their employees park in the designated parking spaces in the square that have to be paid for by businesses. In addition, you have to consider that for a restaurant use, some of the patrons are going to come from the neighborhood, and they are not going to drive, they're going to walk. Some of the patrons are already going to be in the square. They'll come there to do retail shopping, they'll come there for some other purpose, and then they'll come to the restaurant. So not every restaurant patron is a new trip being generated by a car. That's why I think the estimates we've provided to you are conservative estimates, and we've had them evaluated by the same firm that did the traffic study in East Milton, and they've given you the answer that this should not be, and this use will not overburden the overall traffic situation in the square. So, in summary, I just would like to say there are still some traffic and parking issues that neighbors are going to be concerned about in residential areas. This hearing has really highlighted what some of those problems are, including the problem of retail customers parking in residential parking areas, residential streets. We can't solve that problem, but we'll certainly support looking at solutions, and I personally would work with neighbors to look for possible solutions to that problem, and I think there are some solutions. So I'm not going to summarize all of the evidence. Unless you want me to do that, I'd be glad to go through it all if you want.
We can take a pass on that, thanks. But a question.
Sure.
Mr. Clark appeared before the Board of the Selectmen, actually, and I, of course, always watch the Selectmen because they are just very watchable people. And in any event, he said the Board of Appeals is holding off its decision so that they can see what the Planning Board does. And I thought that was nice of them. Is that right? They want our,
Yes.
they'd like our decision. Okay, I command performance.
They want to incorporate sections of your special permit in their decision.
All right, well, we'll, our site plan approval in their special permit.
Yes, sorry.
All right. Okay, so that's what the Board of Appeals would like to have happen.
Can I just interrupt for 1 minute? I think we probably should make that point. On the question that was raised about the date on the memo is dated the 14th. It appears the traffic, I think the question was about the Milton traffic study, the original traffic study, and that was 2012 according to the memo submitted on the 14th. So I just wanted to make that clarification. So
the original study was June? I think it was June 2012.
Just says 2012.
Okay.
It doesn't indicate that there was another study done after that, it just indicates the numbers they're using from the study they did in 2012.
There was also the, right, they did that, and the same company is also the one doing the design engineering for the study, so they've
Yeah.
been back.
Some of the projections are projections, so it's somewhat irrelevant, the date. But the original study, which probably studied the actual trips they viewed through intersections, was done in 2012.
For the whole square, yeah.
Right, just wanted to make the clarification.
No, that's reasonable, absolutely. You were saying? You were asking for questions, I think you were asking.
Oh, I was, yes. I've apologized for cutting people off last time, but if anyone came back, the board would be thrilled to hear you. And anyone want to speak on this application? Yes, sir.
Obviously, we have an issue with the parking because right now we have tons of snow. I think we need a plan in place that they're going to haul this off of site. There's no room in East Milton Square. My house got buried with snow on the front lawn. The town just dumped it up there. I'm sure I'm going to have to reseed it because of the salt. I don't want to see them emptying out this parking lot and dumping it on top of my lawn, too.
They can't do that, can
Where are
they?
they going to put it? And if they do have snow like we have now, it has to go because they're losing parking spaces. Losing parking spaces, where are they going to park? Well, if I plow my driveway, they're going to be parking in my driveway to go to the restaurant.
So
So
if
I
we
think
say
a plan,
something like-
I think a plan needs to be in place that the snow is taken out of there, trucked out.
So,
Can I
no
make a
snow,
comment on that as the developer?
It's Mr.
Sure.
Falcone.
I'd like to answer that question. We
Come
already
on
own
up
two.
and introduce yourself and.
I'm Robert Falcone from the Falcone Development. We already own 2 buildings in East Milton Square. We've owned 4 Franklin Street since 1970. We do all out plowing, now we sub it out to a contractor. We send loaders in there, and we have, right now, because of the storm on Tuesday, we're 2 stalls short. Tomorrow morning at 4 AM, they're in there loading the snow, and it's all gone. We've been doing that since we owned the building in 1970. Our new building in 450 Adams Street is all plowed back, and there's plenty of room for snow. This plan also has a 7 or 9 foot, I believe, oh, right here. It's got a 7 or a 9 foot buffer. There's plenty of room to pile snow. And none of the town snow, we do a lot of, the town snow does come on your property as you own a driveway. Of course, the town's gonna plow snow in your driveway. They can't have to put it somewhere. I don't think a parking lot, Church Street's gonna plow snow and go across Adams Street into your property, Mr. McDonald. It's not gonna happen.
it's a fair,
We do it now.
it's a fair
The
concern.
town knows that. And
It's a
as
fair
matter of fact,
concern.
last week, we had a loader and we plowed Franklin Street. Not the
My
town.
concern is just not plowing it onto my property. That's not my concern. My main concern is that they're going to lose spots with the snow,
We understand that.
and that,
If we say snow.
I would like to see a plan in place in writing that it's going to be hauled out of there.
If we say that the lot shall be kept free of snow or ice so that the authorized spaces are not obstructed, that should do it, shouldn't it?
Well, if it need be, to take it off-site there, to take it out.
Well, I mean, if need be, that would be up to them.
They do it at the bank next door there.
But we, I don't think, can tell them they've got to truck their snow.
We can require that they keep it clear, but we don't necessarily, we don't require the
I think that
methodology.
if we just say that if the parking lot shall be kept free of snow or ice so that the authorized spaces are not obstructed, that
That would be sufficient.
That would do
yes.
it.
That would be sufficient, absolutely,
Point, thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Peter Dunn. I live at 84 Franklin Street. I've lived in the neighborhood for 10 years. I just had a question for the engineer on the trips. I think it was 556 trips on a Saturday night, sounded like the maximum. What counts as a trip? Is it a round trip, or is it a single trip?
Single trip, one in, two is out.
Okay. And then just in terms of the dispersal of the flow of traffic through the neighborhood, you know, I think 556 trips down Adams Street is probably inconsequential. I don't know if any consideration was given to how that would, some of that traffic would flow through the side streets,
Through Church Street.
Church Street, Franklin, and some of the other streets as well.
The majority of, come on. The majority of the parking here will be handled by valet services. We are providing a parking lot here, but it is limited in the number of spaces it provides. The main, there'll be two parallel spaces here are being reserved for valet drop-off in this area, and then the cars will be brought to these 4 lots. So there are 4 properties that are either owned by the applicant or that they have agreements with, and this shows the route they'll take. I've been informed that locations 1 and 2 alone have adequate volume to hold all of the parking spaces, but just we have the other 2 we have them if they need them.
Okay, and will folks be able to self-park it too?
Yes.
Okay, so if they're coming over from the other side of the bridge and they come down Boulevard Street, they cross over, they're gonna have to do a U-turn to be able to utilize the valet services?
I'm not sure how that works. I think you're gonna go around Fenton Street, come out on Church and Maywood.
But will the valet
Police
be
chief
on,
is not gonna allow them to do U-turns.
to do U-turns
They're not gonna be
on
allowed to
Adams
do
Street?
U-turns, yeah.
Okay,
It won't be allowed.
They have to do a legal maneuver.
right. I don't have any other questions.
Okay, anyone else? If no one else, I think
Well, I
that,
just have one more problem.
okay, if it's just one more, that will do it.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of people. I think you've wore them all down in the neighborhood. Congratulations.
It's been the planning board that did it?
I think that the Falcones have worn them down, so. But at any rate, there is a bus stop at the corner of Church Street, as you come out of Church Street there, in front of my property. That bus is a problem because it holds up all that traffic coming out of Church Street. Nobody can move. That bus stop needs to be moved. And nobody seems to want to address that issue. And I think it should be part of this whole project, that bus stop gets moved up the street where the street is wider. So when the
Where
bus
do you
pulls
think it
over,
should be moved to?
it should be moved up towards the church, because when
What's on here?
they,
Do you have a, is it
where
on
the
this? Is it
where
on
the
here?
church is, where
Here's your house right here.
here's my house here. So it should be, this Quincy.
You can't do that.
Towards Quincy,
Of course we can.
towards Quincy, towards Quincy.
Okay, what about this?
And the
What if
reason,
we-
and the reason being, because if you look at the road, Adams Street, it gets wider up there. The bus pulls over, cars can go by. Where it is, it's at a standstill. Nobody can move. It has to be part of this whole project
I
to move
think
that bus
that,
stop.
given the fact that the MBTA is the motive power here, so
Well,
to
she just
speak.
stepped down, so I don't know what we're going to do now.
But we can, in this, say that we will recommend to the MBTA that they that they look into moving that bus stop.
I think it's important.
Okay, I think we can do that. We can recommend to the MTA, and I think that's probably a good thing to do. Bill has a good relationship with them, and he looks
So
forward.
the whole planet of East Milton Square, this should be part of that
Well, there might be a new director in April, so,
better
Better
flow.
call soon.
thank you.
Move the bus stop to where the road is wider.
Alex, you've got somebody waving their hand to speak.
Yes.
I'm Debbie Aylward, and I work for Falcone Properties. Just to ring our own bell here, I just want to tell you a comment that was just made about we've worn people down. We have done such a great job, and I'm just going to blow my own whistle here, at clearing our parking lots as well as the main road, Franklin Street. We've plowed it ourselves. My sisters and I were out shoveling ourselves. After we've already done our own houses 10 times, because snow plows do that to everybody, my grass as well. It's normal. But I just want to say that one of those people that have come to this meeting and been negative towards us the entire time actually complimented us on how well our properties in East Milton were compared to everybody else in East Milton. She couldn't believe how great we take care of our stuff and asked us if she could park in our parking lot. And that was after she has, every meeting tore us apart.
Is that going to take away from the restaurant, that parking space?
She's got to
Okay,
use,
I
the-
just-
she's
I
got
just-
to use the
I just,
restaurant.
just to toot our own whistle instead, we've sat here very nice all week being torn apart, and we've really done our job more than exceed.
Okay, let's
That's
close the hearing and take a look at it.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing on the Falcone application.
Okay, do we have a second? We have a second. Do we have a discussion? No discussion. Okay, all in favor? Aye. The hearing is closed. Now, we reworked a draft decision, thanks, which you should have copies of.
I have a copy as well of some extra comments, just if you want to pass them out at the same time. We can do it all at once.
Oh, you've got some comments
Yeah,
still?
I didn't get them to send them out ahead
Okay,
of time.
that's good.
so-
Oh, is this one package?
No, yeah, it's just one. It's just the same, it's just redlined.
Thank
So we
you.
can just do it all at once. Thank you.
You've got red lines in this?
Yep, as we go, you'll see them.
Oh, I see them.
There's
Yep,
not
they're
a
in
lot-
a
there's not a
slightly
lot of them.
lighter.
Yeah, there's not a
They're
lot
not
of them.
actually red.
Okay, so want
Page by
to
page?
review them quickly?
Nope, that's fine, I'm good.
Page by
Sorry?
page?
We're going to do mine first.
Yeah, let's do yours first.
All right, on page 4,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we amend the trash pickup language to allow for an adjustment as necessary, as determined by the, this should actually say Board of Health, not Planning Board,
By the Board of Health.
to minimize odors and rodent infestation. So just allowing us to increase that from more than once.
Marion, do you want to come up to the table and
What section?
if you want to chime in?
Okay.
This is in section A, top of the page, just adding a sentence saying trash pickup schedule will be adjusted as necessary, as determined by the Board of Health to minimize odors and rodent infestation.
Okay.
Page 6, section, parking, section A. I just added in, I'm not sure if I added this or, but and was determined to
I
be
have a
sufficient by
copy.
the zoning board of appeals.
We've also got something under D about, yeah.
So we'll go up to D, sorry. D, I changed consider to provide valet parking. And under parking, section A, I added at the end and was determined to be sufficient by the zoning board of appeals.
Where are you now?
Sorry,
Page
page
6.
6, Alex.
D and A.
Provide, that's fine. Ensures there be no substantial parking with the.
The word disperse is misspelled there. Should be D-I-S-P-E-R-S-E. Valet parking has to be approved by the Traffic Commission. So is this language
We
adequately
could certainly make
recognizing
we
that?
could certainly make that modification, that it's subject to approval, subject to required approvals.
At the end, before the semicolon?
Mhm.
We're okay with it, with the next,
Just making sure it's grammatically correct. Something looks wrong with it.
Oh,
Quite late at
take a
night.
look at my draft
Great.
and see, we have,
6.
we don't know what the zoning board of appeals is going to do quite yet. We assume they're going to say that X number of parking spaces.
I'm fine with the changes you made, as in place of what I've done.
We both were thinking the same thought.
Yours is fine.
Okay, what else?
Just a couple more. Page 7, 4D at the bottom. And I'd like to require large truck vendors instead of just simply instructing them.
Yeah. I think it's appropriate.
Page 8, E2. I just added full service before restaurant.
Yep.
Page 9, number 7, again, I require vendors using small trucks instead of direct. And I put a restriction in that delivery shouldn't be made between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. I want to get just, is that acceptable with the applicant? I want to just check the hours, but it seemed like it was a pretty reasonable amount of time.
11, yeah, no problem at all.
problem?
No, don't do it now.
And those are my only changes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have a couple more recommendations from the meeting, though. Might as well do it now.
Yeah.
I would like to add a condition that a construction management plan be submitted and approved by the building commissioner and the DPW.
Yep.
If you look on
In there already?
9,
9.
Page 9.
along the side.
Very good. So we can use that language, that's perfect.
Yep. Excellent.
And we've already added the snow plan, we talked about the bus stop. I have one question, and that's with regard to the questionable parking space here. There was a question about either striping or adding a bump out there, and wanted to have a discussion about whether this application should require a bump out or line striping be put in front of this driveway to prevent the left turning lane from blocking the neighbor's access to get in and out of the driveway. That was a that came up.
I remember that was a comment, yeah. Was
got
that
around
something, is that something that can be addressed in this application, or is it something that, I think it's something that goes to the
Public road.
traffic commission?
Right.
Yeah,
Public road
Okay,
must
so that's
go
a
through
traffic commission.
yeah, I would
Fine.
say.
That's why I wanted to ask the question, I'll make a recommendation.
And the same question with regard to the T. I have no objections to requesting that the T look at that bus stop and
just
moving
add
it.
that to the-
But yeah, I don't know that it belongs in the
That's fine. So we
permit,
can just
but I
add
think we
it to
should
the
do it,
MBTA
yes.
recommendation, that's.
Yeah,
It doesn't hurt if you make it clear that it's just a recommendation.
but I don't know that it's something that, I mean, the special permit is something that has to be enforceable against, or rather, site plan approval. You got me mixed up with the special permits, Phil. The site plan approval is something that has to be enforceable on the person receiving the
Well,
approval.
We do want to recommend to the MBTA to move the bus.
I
stop.
agree. I don't have
Okay,
any
so-
question on
so-
that.
So, I mean, if we can get our planners to agree to say it was the sense of the planning board that it should be moved, and send it off to whoever moves bus stops. You think we can do that, Bill?
Can.
All right.
And then
So-
also get the traffic commission to
We can
look at
just make
striping that,
Make a mention about that to the
the
traffic.
left-hand
So
lane,
it's more or
yeah.
less independent of
Yeah,
the...
because I knew exactly what she was talking about. I
And
can
we'll-
see
we'll-
exactly why
we'll
they're doing
send
Knowledge
it.
we
a copy
learned
of
through this process.
Recommendation to the traffic commission.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, now, I have a few changes on page 1.5. I say that all parking shall be in strict conformity with the written decision of the Board of Appeals. And we don't know what that's going to say, but we certainly want it to be. And later on, I say if this site plan approval contradicts the Board of Appeals, the Board of Appeals trumps.
Good, yeah.
Now,
Question for you on 3, Alex. page
think
3.
This is your
Yeah.
one.
D1, you have the applicant will provide, but you have elsewhere, you've changed all the wills to shalls.
Oh, well, the will is,
So I'm double checking.
the will
everything.
is not a shall because we get into the shalls.
That's why I thought I would
afterwards.
just double check.
This should be a will.
Okay.
I don't think we need capitalized protection for adjoining premises, do we?
No.
Not if it's not a defined term.
I think that we can make that small. By providing the following site plan features, and then we get.
Into the
Then
shalls.
we
Okay.
start shalling them. And as you can see that on page
those.
4,
Shelled the heck out of them.
everything is, becomes a requirement. And on page 5, everything becomes, well, a lot of stuff becomes a requirement.
Yep.
The traffic circulation, we left alone because it just describes what they did.
Right.
On page 6, I talk about implementing the valet scheme if it's feasible to do that, if practical and feasible, which would mean that the selectmen would have to weigh in if it were to be done.
So on
So that
that,
actually takes care of the concern
about the
of
subject
the
to required
approvals.
approvals.
So,
And we're going to
you could just,
change disperse to disperse with a P as opposed to B, yes?
yes.
Where's that?
D,
Oh, disperse.
yes.
How do you spell disperse?
D-I-S-P-E-R-S.
D-E-D-E.
E.
D, E,
P-E-R-S. I don't know what it-
Disperse.
all right,
Okay.
cut
So
that.
that will now read, applicant shall require a valet parking plan in collaboration with the Milton Traffic Commission to further disperse traffic to yet another location from a valet station on Adams Street as evidenced in the VPNE Parking Solutions Valet Parking Plan, and shall implement if it practical and feasible. Shall we also add to the word approved there? Do we need to reference that?
It wouldn't be feasible if it weren't approved.
Fair enough.
I took out traffic impact will be mitigated by the site being located within the business district because I didn't think that would actually mitigate the traffic. But, so I took it out.
Okay, so you're just leaving it as a statement.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, and let's see. The temporary and permanent signs, I say as authorized and reasonably necessary, because they can't just put up sandwich boards without going to you, Bill.
Selectmen.
Selectmen.
You have an extraneous comma under VA. Second line approved comma, that comma needs to come out.
What?
Second line of A, under
Yeah.
parking, you've got, you need to take out the comma after approved.
Really?
Oh, yes, because you got rid of the first, it was a parenthetical clause, and then you got rid of
Oh.
it, yes.
That's right. That's exactly, that was, yeah. So if we go to page 7, the sewage plans, I say applicant has submitted detailed plans for disposal of sewage and for drainage of surface water at the site.
Yep.
And then I say such plans shall be approved by the town's DPW. Is that what we want, Bill?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Then we say there's adequate sewer capacity, but we don't need a letter from the town engineer to say that.
We already have them.
But we're sure we do, but we don't have to reference it. You can put it in the file. Is there going to be should stormwater management plan be small again?
Is it going to be a separate document?
Will be.
Then it should be capitalized.
You going to do one of those? Stormwater management plan?
It's required.
Oh, you've got one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
That was the first meeting.
All right.
That was a long time ago.
Wasn't that long ago.
Was for me. I'm getting old.
It's all relative.
Okay,
Okay, we've got
Solid
a
waste.
little grease,
Sure.
clean, safe, odor-free condition. That seems reasonable.
we've got the wooden enclosure and the concrete pad. That's good.
And
Yep.
then compliance with their design.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the unit density was, so I took it out. Well, I mean, I said it was acceptable, but I'm still not exactly sure what it is.
Well, it's being
I say
lowered.
unit density and proximity of adjacent buildings to each other are acceptable, and I think that's a fair statement. Then I've taken out that we've reserved the specific power to amend. If there is a statement later on that the building inspector and someone else can, and the Board of Health can come in if they find conditions that need to be changed.
Okay.
And then, once again, the valet station needs to be approved by the selectmen at the bottom of page 8. Now, on page 9, we've got the construction management plan. I guess we should, I'm not sure how we want to number this. Do we want to make it, I think we probably want to make it 12.
Yeah, I would say so, right before you get to the site plan approval. And then the paragraph you wrote just now on the snow management
snow
should be
removal.
13.
The snow removal will be 13, yeah.
And then site plan approval will be 14.
Right. So 12 becomes 14, 13 becomes 15, 14 becomes 16, 15, 17. This is pretty easy to do.
Yeah, until you try to Microsoft Word, and Microsoft Word gets confused.
Okay, so we're going to put in snow removal, and that is, once again, in 14, I talked about strict compliance with the written decision of the Board of Appeals, and nothing herein shall be construed to the contrary.
Yep.
So, and with those changes, combined with Brian's changes, it seems to me that we've got a site plan approval which addresses the issues that have been identified. And as I've made clear, we don't have any power to turn down this application. We have to make sure that they have they've done what they can to make it as good an application as possible. And I think they have. And I think the site plan approval will, I think it touched the bases and it should be approved.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yeah, I think so.
In that case, I move that we grant site plan approval to Falcone Properties LLC, 4 Franklin Street, Milton, Mass., as so written and amended tonight.
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
All I want to say is I think this is a good thing for East Milton and for the town of Milton, and the Falcone Properties and the Falcone family should be commended for coming forward with such an exciting project. I had a look at what they've done already, and it's made a real difference to the square. I know that there will be, in the short term, some traffic and parking problems as things get worked out, and obviously as changes in East Milton Square happen, but I think this is a real positive for the town, so looking forward to it.
All right, all in favor? Aye. So it is approved. Now, Emily,
Yes,
we're going to,
sorry.
Wrong
we're
Emily.
going to try and put this together tomorrow and have it available for signature, or Monday. I mean, we probably have it available for signature next week, since
Yeah.
tomorrow it's,
Monday's all I have.
Monday's a holiday, so early next.
okay.
We'll
So
probably get
by
3 or 4
mid,
feet of
by,
snow between now.
by midweek, we will have a document ready to, for people to come in and sign. We've voted it.
Thank you.
We've got the text.
Excuse me.
They'll sign it and then file it with the town clerk probably on Wednesday or Thursday. And I will give you this, and I will come in and consult with you.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Now, it's time for the town planner's report, isn't it?
Thank you.
Those other people left, unfortunately.
What?
I said those other people left, unfortunately.
Oh, you mean you wanted to spend another hour? Here you are, Emily. No, I approve of ending meetings by 9:30.
I like that.
So,
Motion, will you please?
I was going to let Mike or Brian do it this
Motion to
time.
adjourn.
All right, that's a non-debatable if we have a second.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right.
All right, all in favor? Aye. The planning board is adjourned.